What's that? 1407. An American horror movie about a hotel room where all the occupants commit suicide. Based on the work by master of modern horror Stephen King. Oh, I get it. Stephen King. Oh, that's funny. I just did an hour-long recording session, and none of it saved. None. None of it. So, a whole hour of the game you guys don't get to see. God dang it. It's 1:32 in the morning. And I really want to get this part out. Not that anyone probably cares, but I just want to do it for my own sake. But oh my god, I even left it off on a freaking cliffhanger. Anyways, I'm gonna sum it up real fast. I'm gonna have a little flashback sequence of what just happened, like the last 2 minutes, because that's all that's saved. But the last 2 minutes that's gonna be playing right now. Edit me in the future, make a little split cut right here, put the little thing, and now you're back. You're back to where I am. So that happened before. But anyway, before that, we went to the club room, met Karisu, met a new character. She has blue hair. She doesn't talk. God, I did so much voice acting. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. But we got that. We did this full thing. We chalkboard evidence. A bunch of other disturbing killings. I gave genuine reactions that I can now no longer give you, and you can no longer see because I messed up the recording. But anyways, we came. They were like, oh, so there's new killings on the 9th and the 17th, which happened before the earthquake, which you guys remember was the big boomy thing at the beginning. I'm assuming. So there were a bunch of killings that happened on the dates, and then the killings we just watched, which was the guy who ate his arm, and then the girl who died by sticking a speaker in her stomach and doing that stuff. She died, but they died on the same day as the people. It's following a pattern, basically. So the people who died on specific dates, then the earthquake, and now it's repeating the patterns. People are dying on specific dates, which are the same dates as the people who died before the thing. Anyway, we came here. The blonde-haired girl, who I gave this voice, was like, oh, it's just a coincidence, and then my character was like, oh, well, idiot, it's actually not. If something happens today, then 3 times it happens cannot be a coincidence. And then, what do you know, we get a call from the pink-haired girl, and we're like, oh, no, we got another killing down here. So now we sneaked past the cops. We're in a love hotel where the killing supposedly took place, and we're about to sneak in this door. Oh my god, that was an insultingly simplified explanation of what just happened. I'm so sorry that you cannot see my genuine reaction to the past hour of stuff that just happened. But anyway, this is where I was gonna leave off the video, because this is apparently where the murder took place, behind this door. So you would have to wait, but now I have to show you. But you don't get to see the past hour of stuff I did. Okay, anyway, we reached the second to last door. Room 306. Huh. Oh good. Another one of these things that I have no idea what they do. I listened carefully but didn't hear anything revealing. Just the quiet rumble of the air conditioner. Is there a peephole? Come on. This is a love hotel. Oh, right. Hey, what are you... Knocking. You can't... What if someone really answered the door? Wait! There was a loud sound. I quickly glanced around to see if anyone heard what Sarika did. It's not opening. Maybe I should have borrowed a key. Nah, there was no answer from inside. No one was there, probably. Taku, what's wrong? No, never mind. Damn it. It felt kind of ridiculous for me to be so serious. The police aren't here either. Maybe it's not this floor. Stop with the noise. No? I flinched back at the sudden noise. What? Huh? Was that the sound of breaking glass? It was from the next room over, right? She was clinging to my back in surprise with her hands on my shoulders. I think so. It came from further down, right? Sarika pointed to the next room. We stood there for a moment. The violent sound must have scared her, because Sarika's easygoing mood had totally vanished. But we waited a while, and nothing more happened. There was no voices or sounds of struggle. The hallway was the same as ever. But was I imagining it? Or was the hall a little darker than before? Should we go back? Sarika didn't answer my question. She didn't seem afraid, but she had a serious look on her face, and she stared down the hallway. Nah. Maybe something had happened and the killer was still there? No, wait. I needed to think about this more rationally. There was an officer on the first floor who'd called for backup. Usually when a call came in, the police never came there alone. There was always more than one. I'd found that out for myself during my reporting, so I was sure of it. So there had to be another officer at the scene. The killer couldn't just be hiding there. If there was any chance of that, the cop wouldn't have just told us to go back to our rooms. Did the killer break the glass during a struggle? No, that didn't make sense either. If there was any chance of them being able to do that, why would the officer have gone downstairs? He'd probably gone down there to tell the front desk not to let anyone else in. Damn it. I had no proof. But it should be okay. More than anything, I hadn't taken any photos yet. What? Oh, it's the frog. God, don't scare me with that dumb frog. Ooh! I jumped, literally, when I heard the sun sound. It was a very strange sound, one that didn't belong here at all. I'm sorry, it's not a dumb frog. It's actually pretty cute. I looked and saw that Sarika had gotten so nervous she'd taken out her Garo Froggy Garo strap and started to play with it. She probably didn't even know she was doing it. I softly poked her with my elbow. I motioned for her to keep quiet, but she seemed confused. But then she realized what she was doing and quickly put the strap back in her pocket. As soon as she was done, I looked down the hall once more, all the way to the front of the room. We should head there. I tried to steel myself, then checked over my shoulder once more to make no one else was there. I started to walk forward very carefully. I was afraid of making even the slightest sound. Sarika followed me wordlessly, with her hand on my shoulder. I grabbed her hand with my free hand. The other was holding my smartphone. She squeezed it tight. The feeling of her fingers kept me strong as I walked forward. The next room. Room 305. The room at the far end of the hallway. Just like room 306. It had a plain old door, but it felt like it was exuding an intense pressure. This is where it came from, right? She was asking about the sound. I think so. I answered, despite not having any proof at all. We waited, but still heard nothing. I looked around once more to make sure no one was there, then put my ear against the door. And then I heard a small sound. It was the sound that I'd heard outside, the sound from the windows, like a music box playing. It was relaxed and peaceful, even if we weren't, and played the same tune over and over. This is the room, the one with the open windows. Sarika was looking back at me. Will it open? No, that's... I hesitated, but she put her hand on the doorknob, Oh, goody, it opened. Oh, never mind. Nope. She seemed relieved, but a little upset. I knew exactly how she felt. I felt the same way. I moved away from the door. I would have liked to take some photos before I left, but... No? Just run. Run. I'm running. I'm out of there. Someone unlocked the lock. I'm out of there? Did you just hear the sound of a lock? Yep. Let's book it. Yeah. That was what it sounded like. We were too confused to move. There was no sign of anyone coming out. I slowly touched it. I'm turning on my light. It's 2 a.m. Turning on my light. You know what? Nope. What's going on? Yep. Oh, try to scare me now. Try to scare me now. I slowly touched the doorknob. It turned. The door was unlocked. How? Oh no, we're in the phone POV again. Which you guys didn't... It's the first time for you guys, but... A little bit before we were in a phone POV and it was pretty creepy. I got scared. Yeah, but anyway. As if guided by the strange things that were happening, I pushed the record button on my smartphone. I gripped the doorknob tighter. A voice in my head told me to stop, to go back. But it was wiped out by the sound of my smartphone recording starting and the door slowly opening. The more it opened, the less I was able to ignore my curiosity. It felt like something besides Sarika was pushing me forward as I opened the door. That's not a good thing, I don't think. The song was playing in the dimly lit room. And the lights were off, but the sun outside was streaming through the open window. Its light was very weak. The curtain in front of me, which partitioned off part of the room, was blocking the light. I gulped and realized my lips were dry. I ran my tongue over them to wet them a little, and then I realized my heart was pounding. The sound was so loud I thought my heart might somehow have moved up to my ears. It seemed to be beating out some bizarre rhythm, and it was making me sick. I forced myself to swallow my saliva and hoped it would keep me from throwing up. Then I took a slow step forward. I held up my phone to record what I was seeing, and then I realized something. That curtain wasn't partitioning the room. It was a bed. There was a raised spot off the floor with a circular bed surrounded by a curtain. The light was streaming out from behind it. The windows we'd seen were on the other side of it, and the song seemed to be coming from there as well. Crap. It was too dark. I went to flip the nearby light switch, then forced myself to stop. No. I couldn't touch anything in the room. Some kind of crime must have taken place here. But I was scared to go any deeper into the darkness. My shoes made my steps loud against the floor. There was no response. Only the relaxed melody. I gave a signal to Sarika, who was still behind me, and went deeper into the room. No, stop. What? For a moment, I thought I heard the sound of creaking metal. Felt like I was hearing it between the gaps in the music box melody. But there was no change that I could see. No one jumped out, nothing was moving. There was just the sound of the music box. I looked from one part of the room to another to make sure nothing was amiss. And then I slowly moved forward. Oh no. Oh, what? Who is that? Someone was lying on the floor. Huh? When my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I saw... Oh! A police officer. And a woman? The officer was lying against the bathroom with his legs splayed and his head drooping, The girl was lying on the floor face down. They showed no signs of noticing us. No, that wasn't right. The glass behind them was shattered into 1,000 pieces. Crap. The second I understood what was going on, the hand holding the smartphone started to shake. Crap, crap, crap! I could see a little blood dripping off the police officer's head. I spun around as I heard the sound. Stop, stop, stop. No, 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 don't do this to me. The warmth drained from my face in an instant and my whole body shivered. Someone was sitting on the bed. I staggered back and slammed into Sarika. Let's get out of here. Now! But I couldn't move. My hand was frozen as it pointed the smartphone towards whoever was behind the curtain, and it wasn't doing what I told it. Damn it! I took a step back, tripped, and fell onto the floor. My lungs weren't working right. The silhouette moved a little, and I flinched. No, it didn't move. The bed was rotating. Whoever was behind the curtain showed no sign of noticing us. They didn't budge an inch. What the hell is going on here? Taku, the door won't open. Sarika's voice sounded like it was far away. What? I ran back to the entrance and slammed myself into the door. It wasn't opening. It wasn't opening. Why won't it open? I don't know! Sarika yelled back at me. What? Why? Sarika screamed as she slammed against the door. I helped her try to batter it down. But it didn't work. It was like trying to batter down a wall. No. Is that the same knock? Suddenly I heard a knock. I reflexively jumped away without thinking. Knock, 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 knock. It was coming from this door. The knocking was rhythmic and constant. What? It was just a knock at the door. But my whole body started to shake. Someone was on the other side of the door. Someone was knocking. It definitely wasn't the police. I felt as if my sanity was boiling away, melting out the soles of my feet on upward. No. No! Don't open that door. Right. Go out the back. Let's use the window! I grabbed Sarika's hand and ran to the back of the room. And fell silent at what I saw. Uh-oh. Huh? No. But what was that? Oh no! There was a man there, sitting. No. He was moving slowly. The bed was moving in time to the sound of the music box. An eerie sound came from the wire strapped around his neck. Aye! The wire was hanging down from the ceiling, choking him. His face was all puffed up in a color I'd never seen before. His pants were wet and the stain extended to the bed itself. The smell of piss and shit hung in my nose. He wasn't alive, he was dead. What the hell is this? Why was he dead? Did he suffocate? Why was the curtain open? And what the hell was he doing? Why was he dead? My right arm moved without me realizing it. Huh? I needed to use the window to escape. But I pointed my phone camera at the body instead. Taku, we need to get out of here! The body spun, slowly. Each time it went around, the wire made an awful sound and dug deeper into his neck. It had dug in so deep by now that the man's neck was the size of my wrist. The skin must have been broken because it was bleeding a little. Taku! What am I doing? Circo was right next to me, but her voice sounded far away, like she was talking through this to a telephone. I needed to get out of here. But I couldn't stop the filming. Why was I doing this? Why was he dead? The wire dug deeper and deeper into his neck without waiting for me to come up with an answer. The body turned away from me. I could see the back of his neck. The flesh around the wire was swollen, red and black. I heard a muffled sound, like something hard snapping inside of a bag. The head slumped just a little. His neck had just broken. That must have been the sound of the neck breaking. Taku! Let's get out of here! I could hear Sarika's voice. Get out of here? Get out of here. That's right, I need to get out of here. Oh, screw off. Nah. My body moved as I heard another sound. I spun around. Oh my god! Oh! Thanks, jump scare. Freaking... Oh my god. I screamed. And I heard something from behind me. I don't know what it did, but the next thing I knew, my whole field of vision had turned red. Then I felt something like a ball hit me. Before I could understand what it was, everything faded to black. September 30th, 2015, Wednesday. midnight. Oh, shoot. This is the day after. It was the 29th yesterday. Because that was the whole thing with the dates and the murders. Shinju, we managed to get the ID from the possessions and the security cameras. His name is Hironori Kakita. 22 years old, a Shibuya resident with a part-time marketing job at Koshin. Part-time at Koshin? Any lovers? None. No roommates either. He lived alone, it seems. Oh, shit. Shinju cursed. If he was single and not in a relationship, it would take time to figure out his private life. And Koshin was one of the companies that had profited the most from the recovery projects in the recent years. Part-timer or not, if you worked there, it was probably pretty busy. It was possible that his coworkers knew just his name and nothing else about who he was outside of work. Shinju-san, マスコミへの対応どうしますか? Kayomi Television やニコニアのネット記者が引き下がらなくて。Shinju, what do we tell the media? Kayomi TV and Nikonia's net reporters are refusing to leave. それから現場にいた例の子たちですが、壁報の新聞部と言っていた2人、状態は落ち着いたみたいなんですが、やはりところどころ要領を得ません。And those two kids we found at the scene, who said they were with Heikiho Newspaper Club, they've calmed down, but they're still not making a lot of sense. もう一人の女の子も身元を示すものを何も持っていなく、柿田の交友関係、親戚筋から洗っていますが、まだ当たりません。That other girl doesn't have anything that would tell us who she is. We're checking if she's a friend or relative of Kakita's, but no luck yet. She's refusing to say anything. Also, forensics wanted to know... Hey, you can't just... This is Watabe from Nikonia News. Excuse me, what's going on here? Get out! You can't come in here without permission. Just a brief comment. A brief comment is all I need. Shinju's men physically dragged the reporter out of the room. He had to stop himself from putting his hands to his head and moaning. He couldn't let his men see him acting weak. Shinju had been with Police HQ Section 1 for less than 7 years. He didn't get along with his superiors, but he managed to beg his way into bringing in charge of this case. Maybe this was his way of avenging the death of an older detective who he'd admired.
窓枠の鑑識が終わったらすぐに外から見えないようにしといてくれ。あのネット記者は最近何するかわからん。
Once you're done looking at the window frame, make sure it can be seen from the outside. There's no telling what net reporters will do.
はい。
Yes, sir.
検視は俺が直接対応する。それから会社の仕事周りへの人数を増やしてくれ。上には後で俺から言っておく。
I'll talk to forensics myself. Oh, and put some more manpower into checking his connections at work. I'll tell the bosses.
はい。それで例の子たちは
Yes, sir. So, what about the kids?
それも俺が持つ。じゃ、よろしく頼む。
I'll handle them too. Get to it.
はい。
Hi, sir. His men raced out of the room. They never had a case like this before, and they were probably pretty excited. So was Shinjo, to be honest. The whole thing was such a mess that he didn't even know where to begin, but his detective's instincts were screaming at him to start doing the work needed to find the killer. Okay.
よし。
Oh. Hello? This is Trustworthiness Investigation Company, Frisia. His call was answered on the first ring, like always.
俺です。
It's me. Oh, Shinju, you're late. I thought you'd be contacting me earlier.
すいません。
I'm sorry. Shinju apologized without thinking and for no clear reason. He always felt like a naughty child when he spoke to his CEO, who happened to be a woman. You know why you're so exhausted? It's because you're taking this too seriously. You should relax a bit, like they did. See, I've got no intention of copying their habits. You're so serious, aren't you? If you keep on thinking that's a virtue, you're gonna have a bad time of it one day. Mamase, there's something I wanted to talk to you about. Shinju cut her off before she could continue her lecture and gave her a brief description of the scene. This was a violation of the rules, but the only way to solve a crazy case was to be a little crazy yourself. That was the first thing he learned from the older detective. So is it a murder or suicide? Melissa asked her question after she described the situation. She cut into the heart of the problem. We're not sure right now. The hotel had gotten suspicious when Kakita had never come down after checkout time. When more than 10 calls came to the room went unanswered, they contacted the police. 2 officers as well as someone from the hotel had gone into the room. They found the body and an unconscious girl. One officer stayed at the scene to keep it secure, and the other searched the hotel to make sure it was safe. During the search, he'd forgotten to lock the employee entrance in the back near the stairs. That was how the 2 students from Hekio had gotten in. Shortly after he'd left the room, the girl woke up and started strangling the officer who stayed. He'd hit his head on the edge of the glass window and knocked himself out. He was going to be fine, but he'd been out cold until backup arrived. When the backup got there, they found the girl unconscious on the floor. A boy from Hekio was passed on the floor too. The other girl from Hekio was throwing up, also on the floor. Kakita's cause of death was asphyxia via strangulation. The wire around his neck was the kind used at construction sites. It had been hung in an X pattern from the lights on the ceiling. And he'd been sitting on the bed as it rotated. That's why there was so much pressure on his neck that finally, his head had been severed. From the estimated time of death, Kakita had passed away before the police had even been contacted. The body on the bed kept spinning in time to the music, 1 rotation every 2 minutes. In the end, the man's head had been cut off completely. The problem was the girl in the room. There was no indication that she'd ever touched Kakita. There were no fingerprints or any other signs that she'd touched Kakita's body or the bed or the wire. The only thing they'd found under her fingernails were skin and blood from the officer she'd strangled. In fact, there was no indication she'd touched much of anything in that room. Everything they'd found belonged to Kakita. And according to the officer she'd strangled when she'd attacked him, she'd clearly been in an unstable psychological state. Her eyes were bloodshot and out of focus.
つまり何？その女の子は柿田って男が死ぬのを黙って見ている。部屋の中のものにほとんど触れず、混濁した意識のまま警官に襲いかかって首を絞めた。
So, what are you trying to say here? The girl just watched Kakita die without touching anything in the room, and then started strangling the police officer while temporarily insane? Nah. Shinjo scratched his head as he heard her sum up the situation. That was what it looked like, at least from what they knew right now. And just going by that, it sure looked like a suicide. But it was all far too strange.
なるほど。厄介だわね。現場に入り込んだっていう適応の子たちか。
I see. This is a bit of a problem. What about these kids from Hekio that got inside the room?
ショックが大きかったようで、最初は何も喋らなかったんですが、今は少しずつ話し始めています。
It seemed like it was pretty traumatic for them. So at first they won't say anything, but now they're starting to talk.
ですが、いろいろと問題のある壁法の子ですから。
But they're from Hekio, and that place has some issues. Issues? My school has issues? He checked with the school and verified that they were part of the school's newspaper club. The security camera at the rear entrance had seen them coming in, which matched their testimony. But he didn't know what to make of their testimony that the door had opened on its own, or that someone else had tried to come in the room. The door was equipped with an automatic lock, and the only person inside the room who could have opened it was the girl. There was no sign of her fingerprints on the door. And the security camera in the hallway showed no signs of anyone else trying to go in. In any event, it was extremely rare for a civilian to see a dead body outside of a funeral. And in an unstable mental state, it was extremely easy to imagine things or just outright be mistaken about what was going on. If they turned out to not have any relationship to Kakita or the girl, he planned on letting them off with a stern warning.
結局のところ、一番大きな手がかりは部屋に潜んでいたその子なんですが、何も喋りません。
Our biggest lead is the girl who was in the room, but she's not talking. Psychiatric hold. She's probably going to be put under psychiatric hold at this rate, right?
はい。そうなると大幅に捜査が遅れることになるので、そうしたくないんです。
Yeah, but that would slow down the investigation a lot, so I'd rather not go that route.
分かったわ。ちょっと情報を回させてちょうだい。多分新庄ちゃんの立場的に無理してもらうことになるから覚悟しといてね。
Got it. Let me run some information spread around. Given your position, this is probably going to be pretty rough for you. So be ready, okay? I'll call back in 3 minutes.
助かります。よろしくお願いします。
Thanks. I appreciate it. Shinju went to hang up the phone.
あ、ちょっと。
Oh, wait.
はい。
Yeah.
そういえばお願いがあるのよ。絶対に新庄ちゃんのためにもなることなんだけど、聞いてくれないかしら。
Actually, I want you to do something for me. I'm sure it'll be a big help for you too. Can you do it? So it's basically an order then. Shinjo thought to himself.
何ですか?
What is it?
この件に関して私より詳しいうちの子が一人いるんだよ。それで今回の現場を直接見たいって言ってるんだけど、お願いできない？
One of my kids knows more about this than I do, and they say they want to see the crime scene personally. Can you help them out?
部外者を現場に?
You want me to let an outsider into a crime scene?
いつだって物事を解決するヒントを与えるのは部外者よ。
It's always outsiders who will give you the hints you need to solve the case. After all, I'm an outsider too, she continued. And it said Shinju went over the steps he'd have to take and the time required to take them.
明日いや明後日で構いませんか？
Can it be tomorrow? Or no, the day after?
さすが新庄ちゃん、話せるじゃない。よくそれで堅物揃いの捜査一課に残れてるわね。
That's my Shinju! Glad we could work this out. I don't know how you managed to get around the rest of those hardheads in Section 1.
ではよろしくお願いします。
Alright, talk to you later.
あ、ちょっと新庄ちゃん。
Hold on a second, Shinju, would you? He barely stopped himself from ending the call.
まだ何か？
Is there something else?
念のためアドバイスをしとこうと思って。2つ
I
ね
wanted to give you some advice, just in case. 2 things.
言っておくけど、さっきのは冗談じゃないのよ。
First, what I said before wasn't a joke, okay?
は？
Huh?
チャランポランで行きなさいっていうやつよ。
You need to relax a little. Don't take everything so seriously. Huh?
これから間違いなく新庄ちゃんの理解の外にある事件が続くわよ。その時一番邪魔になるのは常識だから気をつけなさいな。
That's a little... What do you know? I'm sure a lot of things are about to happen that will be beyond your understanding. When that happens, your worst enemy is what you think you know.
肝に銘じます。
I'll make sure to remember that.
そこで真面目に返事しているようではまだまだね。
If that was a serious answer, you've still got a long ways to go.
もう一つはね、
And the other thing is... Almost paused for a second and chuckled.
うちの子に取って食われないようにね。油断してると新庄ちゃんが部外者になりかねないわよ。
Don't let my kid get the better of you too often. If you let your guard down, you'll end up an outsider yourself. September 30th, 2015, Wednesday. Oh, good.
ツイポ見た？
Hey, did you see the thing on Twitter?
ああ、壁砲ボットのネタ画像でしょ。でっかいウーパがドヤ顔して光るように座って渋谷も変わったとか言ってる。
That is funny. Oh yeah, the meme from Hekiobot. A giant Oopa with a smug look on his face sitting on Shibuya Hikuro and saying, Shibuya sure has changed.
そうそう、めっちゃ切なそうなの。あれさ、文化祭で使うね。渋谷復興の歴史の展示なんてどうせ誰も見ねえじゃん。
Yeah, that one's really kind of sad. Could we use that for the cultural festival? Nobody's gonna look at a display without the history of Shibuya's recovery anyway.
画像だけじゃ弱くない？なんかぬいぐるみとか実際に置かないと。
Is it enough to have just a picture though? We need to actually have stuffed animals or something. The male student started to search through Shibuya stores on his smartphone. He must have found something strange because he kept mumbling, no way. E2 was recording the newspaper club's project for the festival. A bunch of random footage from preparations in the cafeteria. Is this really the right time to be excited over something like that, guys? A body had just been found in Dunker yesterday, and all these students cared about was their stupid jokes. The body was found less than 10 minutes away from the school, but they barely even mentioned it. Well, it really hasn't hit the news too much yet, but the first reports have been on a major communications company website. That was where E2 had seen it. It had been last night. That made the morning news and the morning papers, but all that had been reported was that the body had been found and no details were known. And it was rare for a high school kid to check the TV news and papers every day. There was no word from Miyashiro. Ichi was really worried what had happened at the Love Hotel, but he had no way of asking about it. Damn it. He took out his phone, even though he knew he hadn't gotten any calls. Sure enough, there were no messages. He had been doing that a lot since yesterday. He couldn't bring himself to make a call. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say to a friend who's been taken away by the police. This man's about to snap. The laughing students irritated Itu in a way that he didn't really understand. He'd been planning on videotaping the entire cafeteria today, but instead he gave up and left. You filming? Hope it's going okay. He went inside to the club room and saw Kurusu was there. Any word? Kurusu's expression clouded for a moment as she shook her head. Nothing since then. I see. Wakui, the club advisor, had told him that Kurusu had taken a change of clothes from Miyashiro to the police station last night. She'd been told that neither Miyashiro nor Ono were hurt. The police were probably going to let them off with a warning, and if they weren't suffering any after effects from the trauma, they'd be let go in the morning. But school was over. It was almost evening, and there was no word from either of them. Itu dropped into his chair. Damn it. The school's so peaceful. Barely anybody's talking about what happened yesterday. I see. I mean, sure, there are about 2 murder reports a week in Tokyo, so I know it's not exactly a new thing, but still, Dogenzaka's right next door. It's possible someone walks by that place on their way to school. Actually, I bet someone does. Maybe it's like he always says, and none of these people ever read the real news. Do you have any idea how obvious you are? Kurusu chuckled. Huh? You're worried about the 2 of them, right? Itu started to speak but then choked it back. Not really. Are you worried, Miss Vice President? Ridiculous, she chuckled. I'm angry. The whole thing is ridiculous. Sarika is one thing, but he ignored my warning and went in anyway, and this is what happened. He's making you do all the filming for the newspaper club too. No, I don't really care. It's not that big of a deal. It is. When you're given a job, you need to do it. Ew. Ew, that guy. Ew. Is this it? Kurusu, what's going on with the budgets? Kabahara appeared. He was very out of breath. Huh? The budgets? The list of groups have gone over budget. Accounting says it's not in there. Kurusu frowned as she realized her mistake. Sorry, I'll send you an email with the list. ASAP, okay? Before the teacher goes home. Kawahara ran off before Kurusu had time to answer. And before he was even out of sight, Kurusu had booted up the PC and started to tap the keys. What? No, it's nothing. Which of us is more obvious? That's what Itu was about to say before he stopped himself. Normally it was impossible to imagine Kurusu not doing her job. For a while after that, Kurusu focused intently on her work. Itu didn't have much else to do, so he watched her. When he looked carefully, he could see small dark spots under her eyes. She probably hadn't slept. And then Itu realized for the first time, Kurusu had probably come to the club room to see if either of them had contacted him. With all the preparations that were going on, there was no other reason for her to be there. The Empress of all people, huh? Oh yeah, let me catch you guys up since didn't record. Apparently the main character and the Empress have like a weird, like, kind of brother and sister relationship, but kind of not really. They're really close in a family way, but I guess for some reason their family split up. It's kind of complicated. But Kurusu pressed down hard on one final key as she finished her task. Oh, this is the girl that you didn't see. Then suddenly an unpleasant sound filled their room. Hey. I know. There she is. They looked over and saw that Kazuki was nibbling on dried squid as she played her game, oblivious to everything around her. Itu had seen her come in after Kurusu had started her work. He thought she might say hello, but knowing her, maybe not. He'd also seen her start to play her game. He'd been trying not to bring it up, but that was clearly impossible now. She must have been concentrating pretty hard. Her gaze was constant and steady. Itu sighed. She's always caught up in her own little world, isn't she? Maybe she doesn't care about anyone else. Of course that's not true. She's just a little stronger-willed than most people. Even so. She's in the same club as them, he started to say, but Kurusu stopped him with a raised hand. She looked down at Kazuki's game screen. Oh yeah, that billboard over there? That billboard? See that billboard? That whole section, that was half the video, that billboard right there, of us making deductions of like how to progress, like putting the mystery pieces together. God, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't lose that footage. But whatever, it's gone. Anyway, she looked down at Kazuki's game screen. Evidently not. Huh? Kurusu chuckled and took off Kazuki's headphones. Kazuki, I'm not a big gamer, so correct me if I'm wrong, but... Huh? Is there a reason you're continually flinging fireballs at the side of the house? That fire's spreading really fast. Hmm? She doesn't talk, by the way. Kazuki looked back at the screen with a stunned expression on her face. She yanked the headphones out of Kurusu's hands and quickly put them back on, then started to pound at the keyboard. Calm down, and either swallow that squid or spit it out. What you're doing now is bad manners. Kazuki may or may not have heard her because she struggled with her game for a while, and then... She froze, like a toy's battery had run out. The squid she had been chewing fell out of her mouth and landed on the desk. She stared at it for almost 30 seconds as if something impossible had happened. There. Then she silently stood up and staggered over to the shelf where she kept the electric coffee maker. Her face had turned pale. Kazuki? Are you okay? Are you going to make us coffee? Kazuki nodded in answer to Ito's second question and started to make coffee with shaking hands. She made Kurusu her usual with 2 cubes of sugar and gave Ito a coffee mixed with milk. Then she made a cup for herself black, but didn't drink a drop. Nah. Her forehead slammed into the desk with a thud and she became so quiet it was impossible to tell if she was breathing. See? Kurusu looked at Ito for agreement as she cleaned up Kazuki's squid. What? Wait, really? He took a sip from his coffee, not sure what to think. To him, none of this made any sense. Kurusu didn't say another word as she drank her coffee. Ito looked up at the blank ceiling and decided this was a good time as any to ask. It wasn't that it was anything wrong, it just felt kind of awkward. Hey. What? Is there a reason he's so obsessed with this case? Kurusu froze. She lowered her gaze as if searching for answers in her coffee cup. What about you? You seem pretty interested in it yourself. She seemed to be trying to change the subject. I just like this stuff. This stuff. Weird murder cases and stuff. But still, running into a crime scene like you did almost yesterday was... That was going too far, he continued. Kurusu silently took another sip of her coffee. She seemed to be staring at a single point in the distance, lost in thought. It was clear that while she was seeing the things around her, none of them held any meaning to her. Looking at her scared Itu a little. Was it really that big a deal? If you don't want to tell me... That's not it. I'm sure that, basically, Takeru's the same as you. He likes this stuff. And he's always like getting involved in things that were dangerous. I see, Itu said. You two started living together in elementary school, right? Yeah, that's right. A little after the earthquake, to be precise. Just about the time when middle school was supposed to start. Kurusu and Miyashiro were both what people called earthquake orphans. They'd both been in 6th grade when they'd lost their parents to the earthquake. Since they had no relatives to take them in, they'd been sent to the same group home, the localized small-scale children's welfare facility Aoba Dormitory. That's a mouthful. Kids like them weren't common in Shibuya these days, but they weren't exactly rare either. Miyashiro had been so badly injured during the earthquake that he'd been put into a coma. He was still in that coma when he arrived at the dorms. The head of the dorm was also the head doctor at the Aoba clinic downstairs, and so for a while that was where he was kept. Kurusu had taken care of literally all of his needs. There were 4 kids at the facility. Kurusu and Miyashiro were the oldest. Since her birthday was earlier than his, she dubbed herself the oldest of 4 siblings and volunteered to take care of the other 3. Even back then, Miyashiro had a habit of being curious and getting into trouble. He's just a little brat, you know. He says all the time that he's different from everyone else, right? Even though that's not true. She spoke like a parent worried for her child's future. But in the end, he...
お疲れ様。おや、クルス君も来てたのか。
Hello, everyone! Oh, I didn't think I'd see you here, Kurusu. Ugh. Man, I did not choose a good voice for this guy. Did you hear anything? The club advisor, Wakui, was quite relaxed as he came into the room. Kurusu quickly stood up and rushed over to him. He nodded and motioned for her to calm down.
ついさっきね。
Yeah, just now. Is everything okay? No.
それはもちろん。ほら、伊藤君、すぐに体育館に行きなさい。
Huh? Of course. Hey, Itu, get to the gym. Now. Huh? The gym? Why?
軽音部が今からリハーサルをするって。いい文化祭の記録になるんじゃないかな。
The Light Music Club said they're about to do a rehearsal. It should be good footage for the cultural festival. Kurusu's expression froze. And suddenly it changed. Mr. Wakui, is that what you heard?
そうだよ。って、なんだいクルス君、機嫌がいいね。
Yeah, that's right. What's up, Kurusu? You look so happy. Oh, I seem happy to you? I'm going now. You should come with me.
ちょっと。
Huh? Wait. Sensing a gathering storm of violence, E2 pushed Wakui out the door. Ugh. Kazuki had looked up, but she now slammed her head back on the desk. Now that she was all done, Kurusu took out her phone and checked it. There was no messages, of course. She sighed and looked at the board. That incident yesterday at the Love Hotel. Whether it was a murder or suicide, from the way Miyashiro and Ono had looked when they had been taken in by the police, something had happened. Miyashiro had said it had something to do with the incident 6 years ago. Now that it had happened 3 times, there was no ignoring it. No, it was too dangerous. She couldn't let him get involved in this. She thought back to Ichi's question about why Miyashiro was so interested in this case. Kazuki was still lying with her head on the desk. When she turned her head to the side, for some reason, she looked like she was enjoying herself. When Kurusu saw that, she suddenly lost her desire to drink the coffee. Apologizing in her mind to Kazuki, she decided to pour it out at the water fountain. She headed to the upstairs water fountain, which was usually less crowded. She found herself looking down at the gaps between the tiles, as the sound of her footsteps rang in her ears. She could tell that she was walking slower than usual. Essentially, Kurusu was lonely. She remembered what she'd said to Miyashiro when he woke up in the clinic. I'm Nono Kurusu. Call me by my first name. We're family, so it would be weird to call each other by our last names, right? In the end, he just wants to pretend that he's special. She knew why, she supposed. The event that had caused him to leave the dorm was still bothering him. November 7th, 2009. I could still feel the sensation of the dead woman I'd touched when I'd fallen on my hands, and I wanted to wash it off. I wanted to wash my face too. The wind from the flames had blown something small into my eye and it itched badly. I was thirsty too. Sariko was on my back and showed no signs of waking up. Sat down on a tire that had been rolled nearby. It smelled like burning rubber. I didn't have the energy to apologize to the people I ran into, and I didn't have the energy left to complain. I slowly brought Sarika to rest on my knees and looked around. I saw an orange light. The light of the fires reflected off many things. It was pretty, I thought, before I realized how inappropriate that was. For some reason, I started to count the bodies on the ground, not knowing if they were alive or dead. But in less than 5 seconds, I had gone way over 10 and realized how futile it was. I stopped. Shibuya Station was utterly destroyed. The 107, only a few minutes away by foot, was ruined as well. 5 whole hours after the earthquake, the chaos had only increased. Unfortunately, that is where I'm going to have to end this second part of this video. Hopefully this records as I want it to, but I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, you would have had everything before this, but didn't record. But I hope you did enjoy this, and then in my last video, which you didn't see, I gave a shout out to one of my friends who's not feeling well, and if you've watched all the way to the end, I really hope you're feeling better soon, man. But try to get a part 3, part 4 soon out soon. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.